You were saying that you met some other people that had seen the Phoenix Lights in the lava.
Right. And every year we have an annual event at the Arizona Historical Society. I mean, they host us, and they have a permanent display of the Phoenix Lights there. It's like a 15-foot display, and you go through this black tunnel, and there's the craft, and it lights up.
Yeah.
So you walk underneath the Phoenix Lights, and it's got all the photos, and you push buttons, and there's the news talking about it. It's very serious here.
Well, let me ask you this. So you went there. How many different versions of the craft did you see, and how many were like the one you saw with your eyes?
Okay, two.
Okay.
People see either a V or the boomerang, and most people saw the V.
Okay. And you saw?
It was clearly a boomerang. Okay. Even from a distance, it was a boomerang. And then right up over me, of course, then, because I was on a hill and it was very, very low. So it was kind of hard to see them when it was right over. But as it went off, it still had the boomerang lights. And when you look at the photos people took, and they're all saying it's a V, you look at those photos of the lights, they're a boomerang. It's not a V. A V's a point. It'd be interesting to make a V and light it up. And take a picture of it, and take a boomerang and twist it out, and I mean that it looks wider.
Okay.
But this one lady, she and her son and somebody else saw it, and she says that it was wide, and after it went over her head, it formed into a V and then took off real fast for 5 miles.
So she saw it change?
Yeah, she saw it change, go from wide to a V. And take off. And she was around Camelback Mountain, which is where Dr. Lynn lives, and heading south. But there was 2 sightings that night. The one I saw that I was right under, actually I saw both, but the one I was under was around 8 o'clock in the evening, like about 8:30. That was the craft. I think the later one probably could have very well been flares dropped by the Air Force, because that was on top of South Mountain, which is a big mountain, south of Phoenix. The craft I saw, and that the others in the same area saw, it was very, very, very low to the ground. I mean, it just went over streetlights, and it went to the east of the mountain. It did not go over the mountain. So everybody keeps saying that it's flares on the mountain. It went around the mountain and went down I-10, like down towards Chandler, Arizona. Very, very low. I watched it go out of sight, and I could see the streetlights. The streetlights were like this, little things. And here it was, like right here.
Yeah, and like you said, you drove up on an off ramp that went up a bit, as they do, and it was. You said you could have thrown a rock at it and hit it.
I hit it with a rock. Truly, I could have hit it with a rock, because I was on a hill of construction debris. I probably was supposed to have driven around it, but it was dark. Everything was torn up. The freeway was torn up for years. And that put me at an elevation. I was just underneath, maybe about 2 feet underneath a freeway streetlight. And freeway streetlights are much taller than neighborhood streetlights. And
right.
So I'm elevated. It was low. It amazing. Absolutely amazing. I can't even.
Well, I was going to say, especially seeing that lava, like you say, or like honey or whatever it looked like, but it was a plasma or something of some sort.
It was something. I mean, I don't know what it was. And it glowed. It gave its own light. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this stuff, a lava lamp, I mean, it's got a light in the base, and it reflects the light. And this stuff gave out its own glow. It just emitted this incredible orange glow. And it covered, the ground was orange. I was totally orange. The truck was orange. Everything was orange. And I was going to go with the light. And then as it stretched down, it would just stretch, and it turned yellow.
Hmm.
when it would form a big drip and get thick, it turned back to orange. And, just like when you mix
Yeah.
icing for cookies or something, you spread it out, the color goes. And when it's
Yeah.
thick, it's red, and then it's pink when you spread it out.
Yeah.
And it was doing something like that, but it was just glowing. And not too long ago, someone said, "Oh, did anything fall? Was there any remnants?" And I thought, why didn't someone say that? I would have driven back and looked to see if something
Yeah.
fell.
But you didn't see anything fall.
No, I didn't see
Right.
anything fall. But
Yeah.
what if? I mean, I could have
Yeah.
looked. It wouldn't have been anything. I just didn't think of it at the time.
Yeah. Well, I think if something fell or dripped off, you would have seen it. Because apparently, if it was glowing, you would have watched it go, hey.
So anyway, I met this guy, and he was like 20 at the time, and he saw it probably 4 minutes before I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little farther north, and he was right underneath the opening. You could see right up into the canopy. It's going to look like it went very, very far into the bottom of the craft. So I wonder how thick the craft was.
Yeah.
The ambient light of Phoenix shining up illuminated the bottom. And then plus I had the street light and I had my brights of my truck on. So I could clearly see the bottom, but I couldn't see the sides or the top. But anyway, he was right underneath the light and looking up. It was like a big tube. And he said it was swirling like cotton candy in a machine being made. Or something, and it was orange and yellow and swirling around.
That's it's funny because I keep thinking, I'm sorry, finish that because I'll go off, but go ahead. So you said it was swirling around.
And I wonder if it was the lava forming, turning into whatever a few minutes before I saw it.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. So he told you when he saw it, what time, and you said about what time you did. So he saw it before you did.
Yeah, we kind of went by the streets because he remembered what street he was on.
Mm-hmm.
And I know where I was. So we kind of estimated maybe 4 minutes, guessing at the speed. And I'm so bad at speed. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just took its time.
Sure.
So we guessed maybe 4 minutes. And so anyway, that was interesting that he saw movement and something being made.
Yeah, because he wasn't seeing any lava type of stuff coming down. He was just seeing the swirling.
Right. And then the Prescott Witness that did that CGI, and you guys used some of it, with the waving fishtail of rainbow color. He's the only other person that saw that.
Okay.
So far, no one else has seen that except he and I. And that's exactly what I saw.
Well, that's cool that you got corroborative evidence or corroborated yours because because you didn't see the rainbow type of stuff coming off the end.
I did. I saw
it. You did. Okay. You saw that
exactly the way he did it. It is CGI. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's so amazing.
Nobody else did. And it was so obvious. It was glowing. It emitted its own light to it. It was sparkling. It was actually pretty. It looked like something out of Disneyland.
Oh wow!
It was just it was pretty. It was just.
I couldn't imagine.
That's when I got my download. That's when I got hit with whatever it was that.
So, and you're calling the download when you were just overwhelmed with this peacefulness,
right?
This feeling. Okay,
and maybe it was a download.
And euphoria.
I don't know what else to say. Yeah. But it didn't happen when it was coming towards me. It didn't happen when it was over my head. Right. It just passed in this rainbow mist.
Oh.
Right over my head. So was it something that dissipated, was in the air?
Yeah.
Was it a radiation? Was it just me? I can't imagine myself hyping myself up so much to think about this my whole life.
Right.
And to remain consistent.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's fascinating is to think, was it alien? Was it military? Either way, we know that there's consciousness activity with the non-human intelligence crafts. And then we also know that it's possible that our military tech, the deep dark guys, have been trading technology for maybe abducting people. Who knows? I don't know. But if it were military, maybe they're still using the same type of technology. Maybe it's still a consciousness type of thing, and they're just making everybody. I mean, I can't imagine why they would fly over thousands of people. But either way, I don't. Who knows what it was? But either way, it changed you and many other people, right?
I mean, nobody that I've ever talked to had a negative outcome from this.
Right.
And I know
Right.
I told you about, I worked with 2 different people later on that saw it. And
Okay.
I told you about the one guy, he was a social worker, and he
Mhm.
saw it in North Phoenix. And I don't know if you've ever been to Phoenix. North of Phoenix, but we have the things called the switchbacks, and it goes up a mountain. So you change elevation a lot. I think Phoenix is at 1,000 feet, and then I think it goes up to 4,000 feet really, really quick. And you have to, really drive. People go off the side of the road all the time. And he was coming down that, and evidently when it came down the switchbacks, it must have adjusted its elevation too. So he was stopped at a red light. The craft was coming from behind him, but he didn't notice it. And he had his window down, and he was listening to the guy stop next to him, listening to his radio. He could hear the crickets. He could hear his motor. And all at once, everything went silent. He couldn't hear the radio. He couldn't hear his motor. And he said he was like thinking something happened to the car. And then he noticed he couldn't hear crickets. And then he looked out his windshield, and then the craft had just cleared his windshield in the front of his car and was passed on. And he saw the craft. And after it went just a little bit, maybe like 5 or 6 more seconds after it passed over him, all at once he could hear the car next to him. He could hear his motor and the crickets. So is it silent or does it mute?
I'm starting to think it mutes. I feel like it mutes because we interviewed another guy who was in the military, and when he was in a forest or wherever the base was and the craft got close, same thing. Everything seemed to mute. No more. And obviously we know from many other experiences that happens all the time. But yeah, it starts making me think, is it somehow muting the sound? Is it because he couldn't hear the engine, he couldn't hear the crickets, the radio. So I mean, does it turn things off or does it mute the things? Does it affect just us? And I mean, did he say the engine turned off, or he just couldn't hear it anymore?
He couldn't hear it, and he was thinking there's something wrong with this car.
Okay,
what's going on? But he can't hear. And because it came from behind him, he didn't know it was there. So he wasn't anticipatory of having a paranormal, experience.
Yeah,
it just happened, and then after it was over, after it passed, then he saw it.
Yeah,
because it was just massive.
Absolutely. It's so amazing to think about. Because another thing I've heard people talk about is thinking that the bubble, the electromagnetic bubble that's around it, that's giving it its anti-gravitic, propulsion systems, is possibly what causes that. Like that bubble is moving past. Maybe it's muting, because it's interesting that he said he couldn't hear the car, but the car didn't turn off. He just couldn't hear it. That's so interesting. I could only.
And if it was in addition to the car next to him's radio, because it was a song that he liked. Once it stopped. So it's like, oh my gosh, that's fascinating. And then another a nurse I used to work with, she probably saw it maybe about a minute or so after I saw it from where she was. And she was visiting Arizona at the time and went out for a walk. And she happened to look up and she saw the solid craft right overhead with the lights. And she thought, I just walked underneath a baseball stadium. She didn't know what she was. And she was looking at it because she didn't notice them before. And then she noticed they just kept moving and moving and moving. And then she was high again. So it was that low that she thought it was just a little
football stadium of lights,
like a little ceiling going over her.
And, it's pretty amazing to hear the different descriptions. Like you said, it's really important to know experience of the lady who saw it. Like, it's kind of like an airplane, it goes into delta shape. It gets like, okay, we're gonna get going, but it's really interesting to hear her say she saw it transform.
And then like warp speed for like, 4 or 5 miles and then slow down again. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's
wild. Amazing. And it does make sense. I remember seeing someone's map of where all the sightings started, and it seemed like it was north of Vegas, of course, from Area 51 or Groom Lake, whatever, S4, who knows. And then it goes down and past through Phoenix, and it was a long trail. It blew my mind, thinking, wow, this thing.
Where did it go?
Yeah, where did it go? Where did it come from? Where did it go? When was the last sighting, and what did they see? It's amazing.
And then about 2000, 2005 or something, I took care of a man, and he was the sheriff for the Navajo Nation. He's since deceased, but there's other sheriff now that tell his story. But he was my patient. I was the nurse, and somehow we got on the topic of the Phoenix Lights, and he was the one that told me that 2 days before on the Navajo Nation, which is in northeastern Arizona, that there were so many craft that his neighbors actually took their sofa out of the house and put it in the backyard so they can sit and watch them. And that they would see them, and he would see them land on the mesas, and they could actually see people getting out and doing something and getting back in. And then one of the craft looked like a giant human eyeball that was just massive and very low to the ground.
That's very interesting.
And that they, somebody said, we should call the Air Force about this. And then they decided they didn't want a bunch of white people coming on their property. That's what he said. So they didn't call.
Right. Well, that's good that they didn't call him, because I was going to say maybe that is the Air Force out there with somebody else, with our friends from somewhere else.
And then Dr. Lynn interviewed several people with the Air Force. And she said at the time the craft went over Phoenix, there was another one at 10,000 feet that also went over Phoenix, just went above it. And she says that they estimated it at 8 to 10 miles wide. And the Air Force did take off after it. And she talked to one of the Air Force pilots and said that when the pilot landed, he had to be helped out of the jet, because it was just so overwhelming for him to see something that massive.
Holy cow. That's I don't know that I've heard that, but I haven't done a ton of research on the Phoenix Lights. That wasn't around the time of the Phoenix Lights, was it? Or it was?
That was the same time. It was right over the craft that went.
There was a second craft?
There's a second craft 10,000 feet in the air.
I've never heard that. But again, like I said, I haven't done tons of research on the Phoenix Lights, but I've never heard that before. That's crazy. And the size is always amazing. It reminds me of the Japanese flight in Alaska. That was, I think, a freighter flight where the Japanese pilot saw the big Saturn, the big craft that looked like Saturn. It had the middle area, and he said it was immensely enormous. Like, all the little holes that were on the side were big enough for him to land in there if he needed to.
Gosh.
So what's her name? She's from New Zealand. I want to say her last name is Hansen, like Suzy Hansen or something, as well as Christopher Robinson from the UK. Both say they've been aboard that type or that craft. Yeah, they said they described that. I remember Christopher Robinson describing the craft. Now, wait a minute. And I think he said he did mention the Japanese flight and his sighting. And I said, yeah, there's a lady in New Zealand who claims she's been on it as well. So it's amazing to think of the immense size, to think that there's a craft above it at 10,000 feet, 8 to 9 miles across, long, whatever. That's pretty big. That's huge.
It's massive.
I don't know if you've ever heard of or read the book, It's Devil's Den. I forgot if it's Abduction at Devil's Den or whatever, but it's by Terry Lovelace. But he talks about his being, because he was abducted, but he says he remembers being on a craft on the backside of the moon, and he was asking her, how big is this craft? And she said it was 15 meters high, 15 kilometers high, and 30 kilometers long. So that's miles high and miles long. That's huge. And I'm just, either way, there's just the mothership, the fathership, and the other patrol ships and all the other ones. It's just amazing to think about it like that. Like,
So I wonder if they radiate something. I mean, not to be penetrated by little tiny space dust or little meteors.
I assume that since these all seem to work off of a propulsion system that creates a gravitational field, that it's very much like the Earth. So it has its own magnetic shield in a sense. And I can imagine
that's why the crafts were muting. Maybe that's a part of their protection.
Yeah.
So then I wondered, thinking of this, if I had been far away and threw a rock at it, would it have bounced back? But when I was underneath it and everything was silent, if I threw a rock then, would it have hit it?
Yeah, who knows?
Although I know it wasn't nice to, it wouldn't be nice to
throw rocks.
But I wished I did.
Oh my gosh, I know.
What would it sound like?
But isn't it true that some of the people in Phoenix, some of the families, some of the kids did throw rocks or try to shoot things at it? I thought I heard some stories like that.
Yeah, that people, tried to shoot it. There was a kid that he said it was close enough he could have hit it with a tennis ball, but he didn't throw it.
But he didn't. Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's the family that saw the bee. I think
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Because if I had a tennis racket and a tennis ball, I wouldn't feel so bad to try to hit it.
I was on that hill of construction debris. So there was rocks everywhere. Yeah. That's what we do. We throw rocks for guys.
Yeah. Why not? So I do want to answer or get you to talk about what Pixelated had asked about going into the Alphastate with the Silva method, and then what you think and this is more my question, is just what you think the difference between Silva and the Monroe Gateway tapes are.
And we took Monroe's class from Monroe back when I was a kid. My mom took me.
Oh.
So we took it from, Bob Monroe himself.
Wow.
My mom took me to everything weird we went to. And no wonder I barely made it to high school, because I wasn't there half the time. I mean, we're gone to go see this psychic or whatever moved to the Midwest we went to see. So the thing about Silva is it's a very active path. And in the 4 days, I think you do like 30 or so different meditations. And the whole key is to get you to be able to get into alpha quickly and effectively and to be able to stay there. And sometimes it takes a lot of practice to be able to get to not just into high alpha or medium alpha, get to lower brainwave activities like a 10 cycles. And to be able to stay there and focus, because when you're in high alpha, at least you're not in your outer conscious thinking, but high alpha is almost like dreamlike or daydreaming. And your thoughts just go all over the place, just everywhere, and this and that and the other, and that music, and this would taste good, and all these things that'll distract you. And when you're in high alpha, it's really hard to rely on anything that you're thinking, because you're incredibly creative and your brain's just going every which way. So in Silva, then we do the countdown practices. We do the practices where we numb our bodies, and the only thing we can feel is our head. The rest of your body is completely numb. You don't know where it is. And
Is that during meditation you're concentrating on removing? Right.
It's a part of what we call going to level, is to go to the deepest level that we can quickly and effectively. And then from then even actually go deeper. So when you're able to actually, you don't feel your body at all, you're probably at least at 15 cycles, probably at medium alpha. And then from there, I like to go even deeper. And the deeper you go, all those distracting thoughts stop. They no longer exist. They can't function because there's not enough brainwave activity to have all the chatter and the distractions and the illusions. So, and your brain, a lot of times, if you go in or ask a question, sometimes, especially if you're not a meditator, it'll just fill in the blank. Just, here's the answer. Shut up. Let's go on. Let's think about other things. And when you're in those deep levels, at least alpha or even down into theta, none of that exists. Your brain's asleep, but you're wide awake and you're in control. And that's the best part. That's like Silva in a nutshell. And once you're able to do that, and then they teach you different things, what you can do from there and how to focus. But it's a very active meditation, because when you get to a deep level, now what are you going to do? Other meditations, you sit and wait for something to come to you. And we don't. We choose a project, we choose a problem, and we go to solve it. And they have many different techniques to use. And then, of course, you can use your own. Say, if you want to change a health issue, if you want to change a financial issue, then at deep alpha, you're thinking one solid thought at a time, and you can focus on whatever answer you want to get. And I have found when I work on these things and do these, when I want a solution, the answer usually comes several days later. But I plant the seed, and then when I return, I just kind of know, just by experience for me, it takes a couple days. And I had lost a book 20 plus years ago. And, that was it. I really needed that book. So that was it. I went to low alpha. I gave the book a face. I gave it hands. And, just like what I did when I did my healing, I called it up on the phone and I gave it a phone and I said, oh, here I am, Dave. I'm out in the garage. I'll show you where I am later on. We hung up. And it was like a couple days later, it just got this incredible urge. Okay, now it's time to go to the garage. My garage is just an absolute mess. And there's just stuff that's been there for 20 plus years, just stacked. And I walked right to a box, moved another box, opened it up, and there was the book right there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So the book, everything's consciousness, even pages of a book. So when you get to those deep levels, it's like, I don't know, you're probably always been on computers, right? Even when you were in school. So we had to do things on paper. So when we were adding and subtracting fractions, you had to get the common denominator, the bottom number. And without that, it was like, oh my God, how are you going to add 2/3 and 1/8? I mean, it's just like, So you turn it all to the common denominator, and then it's easy to add the top number, subtract it, or whatever. And that's what you do with Silva, is you lower your brainwave activity so that your vibration is at a similar vibration, about 10, about a cycle of 10, with most of the universe and most consciousness, whether it's animal or mineral or other people. And that's how you communicate. And it's not, hoping someone communicates or sending pictures. We're getting down to that same level where everybody and everything is actually vibrating from the common denominator. And then it's simple to add. So
that's fast. Well, tell me this. So you're talking about alpha, getting the alpha state, high, medium, low, and around this many cycles. When you were learning this, how do you know how many cycles? How do you know?
When I took it, they hooked us up to biofeedback. That was big. That was like high science back then. I mean, ooh. But the problem was, so they hooked us up to biofeedback because it was that was the first question. How do I know? And it would make these beeping sounds, beep, 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 like that. Well, if you're new to meditating, that's so distracting. It was hard then to meditate and then listen to the beeping sounds. And as you would, there'd be less resistance and on the probes, and the beeping would slow down. Then you think, oh, I'm going into alpha, and then you wake back up, and so it really didn't work. And you just have to go with your feelings, and you notice that you're not breathing. You're breathing half as much as what you were. And then that one exercise, which they start on I think the first or second day, and that's practicing not feeling your body, just feeling your head. And that's a wake-up call to so many. It's like, oh my gosh. And when I had my stroke, Silva has some different techniques for pain control, and nothing worked. But when I had my stroke and I had all this incredible pain, that's the exercise I use. But instead of numbing, my body up to my neck, I numbed my head. And
that worked.
And that worked.
Wow. Okay.
And so I practiced it.
Okay. And that also brings up this idea about how your health has been lately. It turned out to be a heart or a fibrillation. Now, did you try doing any meditation at all for yourself to try to figure out your health issues?
No, I just kept thinking I'm old, and old people get dizzy. And as a hospice nurse, I mean, what, you're used to seeing people at the worst. So it's like, me dizzy and falling over. Well, that's that's like everybody I work with. So it didn't occur to me that I was really having a problem. So I wished I would have thought about it. It's again, like, should I have thrown the rock or not thrown, or gone back and looked if there were drippings on the ground or not. I didn't think about it being an issue, or I would have looked at it.
You just thought you were old.
I'm old. I'm 70 and, teetery, and I got bad knees. And so,
okay. Well, that's because I'm also trying to think of, deniers and debunkers and stuff saying, oh, if all this meditation works, why didn't you do it to yourself? And so I'm just getting you to answer the question, and you answered it.
I didn't think it was a problem. I just thought it was aging, and I'm fine with aging, and I'm fine with, going to the next world. I'm not anticipating, because whatever time we have here, there's work to do. And, but I'm certainly not fearful, and I'm just ready to make that swan dive in, because there's a lot of people waiting for me.
I know there are. There's a stadium full, I'm sure.
Did I tell you about the lady at the grocery store, the medium?
No, tell me. And then we'll go back to the differences between Silva and Gateway.
Okay.
But yeah,
and
go ahead.
Anyway, so I went to the grocery store, and this woman runs up to me, and I thought, oh my God, what's happening? And she says, who are you? What do you do? I said, well, it's just me and just shopping and, nothing big. What's going on? And she says, I'm a medium. She says, I've never seen so many so many souls surrounding anybody ever in my life.
That's awesome and hilarious.
Because you are so loved.
Well, David, it's like this is exactly the same thing. It's like, well, why weren't all these souls and stuff telling you, hey, dude, it's your heart. Go take a look at, hey, knock, 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 it's your heart. Well, anyways, go ahead. What else did she say?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention. So anyway, that was it. And we talked for a little bit, and I said, well, I'm a hospice nurse. And she says, well, of course. I mean, duh. So anyway, we had a little talk, and then off she went, and that was that.
That is so funny.
Isn't that weird?
Did she say anything about who they are? She just said there's a ton of people all around you.
I didn't think to ask. We just kind of talked like she was kind of in a hurry.
Okay, I'm sure it was. Oh, okay, you guys were in a hurry. Okay, because did you get her number? Did you exchange?
I probably should have, but you know what? I feel so in connection with the universe myself. I feel absolutely no need to go to anybody else as a source. I feel so in tune with the universe and spirit, everything. I feel so comfortable with it. I don't need a spokesperson. I don't need a telephone. I'm the telephone itself.
I love it.
So it's that's why I don't read a lot of other people's books. I don't watch other people's near-death experiences. Yeah. I just don't. I've had my own, and I'm fascinated by, and I'm so lucky, and I'm so fortunate, and I'm so blessed.
Yeah, agreed. Let me ask you this: so how long have you felt in tune with the universe?
Probably since childhood.
Okay, because I thought that's an important question, because sure, your life changed after the sighting, because you said you went from honking at people on the road
Yep.
sometimes to just like water off the duck's back.
Right.
So it made me think of how long you felt like, say, in tune with the universe since childhood. But you're pretty much a normal guy with anger until you saw the sighting.
It was, I think it evolved and it unfolded and it changed and matured as
Yeah.
I matured. But even as a kid, I mean, something bad was going on. I turned it over to the universe.
Yeah.
I just knew before I took Silver and the others, but my mom took me to all this stuff. So I knew there was so much more.
Yeah.
But,
and there's still so many more stories. That, like I said, if you feel like sending me those 2 videos you made, I'll look at it and say, I don't think it's a problem, Dave. But if you feel like it, then just re-record them. You've been doing great with all these short videos, only 20 minutes long. I mean, that's awesome, and people love them, and I'm certainly fascinated. I don't remember you telling me about the child or the teenager that tried to commit suicide, and that story. I actually haven't read the whole story.
Well, there's so many.
I know.
And then the thing about the bird attack. Did I tell you that?
No.
So anyway, I was before I lived in this house, and then how I found this house. Oh my God, what a wonderful experience that was. I am so friggin' blessed. I love being David Parker. So anyway, I was living at this place and they had some big trees. And when I would leave my front door, this bird would come down and attack me. And I mean, attack. I got hit by the feathers, the wings. I mean, it was right on me, trying to go for my eyes. And it's like, what the heck? I'm a nice guy. I didn't throw rocks at it or anything. And, I kind of run and get in my car and try to get away from it. And then when I'd come back home and, come up the sidewalk, here it would come after me. And the neighbor said, what'd you do to that bird to make it so mad at you? I said, well, I didn't do anything. Or she didn't believe me. Because why? Because it's not attacking anybody else, just me. And I kept thinking, what the heck's going on with this bird? So finally I thought, well, let me ask it. So, and this is after Silva. So I took the Silva thing. We have, went down to level, did all my countdown. And we have a thing we call a laboratory where you can create different little tools if you want to. We'll make potions if they want to do a healing, and they'll make a potion, something visual and creative and to use your hands. And you can use them mentally or use them physically. And that makes it, that helps a lot of people feel connected to something outside their bodies. So in my laboratory, which I don't use that much, well, in this one, I thought I made this great big nest, huge nest. And I lined it with like super soft down, and it was just really nice. And I sent an invitation before I went to meditation. I sent an invitation to the bird to come visit me. It's like, I'm not going to hurt you. Let's just talk. You'll be safe. You're going to be in a neutral place. We're going to do this at deep levels of mind. We're going to be soul talking to soul. So I invited the bird, did my meditation. I went down to level. There I am sitting in this big nest in my imagination and in this nice open room. And in comes the bird, and it sits down and it's mad. It is mad. And I could just feel the anger coming from it. And I would send it thoughts, it's like, I'm a nice person. I'm a nurse. I put people together. I don't take people apart. And I have never had a cantankerous thought about you. I didn't even notice you. And again, until you started, coming at me. And I asked it, what's wrong? What did I do to offend you? And I could feel like the primal instinct that's probably been in its mental status for millions of years, because birds and animals often instinct sometimes rule thoughts, and it just hated me. It hated me, and it was protecting its babies, and I picked up on that. And it's like, well, I don't know. You come from the top of a tree. I'm down here on the ground. I don't know what you got going on up there. And it just was sending all this rage at me. It didn't trust me. It didn't enjoy sitting in this nest with me. It wanted nothing to do with me. And I just kind of felt like a bit of warmth come from it. So I ended the meditation. I said, trust me, I'm not your enemy. And it left. And that was the end of the meditation. I walked out, I counted myself out and opened my eyes. And again, I know the answer comes later for me. Some people get it right away. I have delayed wisdom, time released wisdom. It comes later. So it was the next day. I was getting ready to leave the front door, and the answer hit me. I saw the picture. I saw what the bird was thinking, and I was looking at me from inside the head of the bird up in a tree, looking down at my front door. And there was a nest, and there was little chicks in it. And even if it's very high, there's no way you could climb up there. But still, it was very protective. And back then, I had a lot of brown hair. My hair was really thick, and I've got a ponytail. My ponytail was very long and thick, and when I'd walk, it would bounce back and forth. And I saw the bird shared, or else I picked up the bird's thought. Looking at me walking with my ponytail waving, I looked like the rear end of a cat.
Oh, shut up.
And cats can climb trees and get little birdies. It thought I was a cat.
Wow.
So it saw the way, and nobody else around me had a ponytail.
And you don't expect a bird to know that you're bipedal. not on all fours.
I looked like the south end of a northbound cat.
That's funny. That is funny.
So it was protecting its babies. And that's why it came after me. And then when I'd come back, and it wasn't so much coming home because then it didn't see my ponytail, but it knew who I was and would come after me. So before I left the door, it just hit me clear as a bell. And 100% of my vision was up in the tree, sitting in the nest, looking down at David Parker. So it was just like watching a movie, with it. So I knew what to do. It just hit me. I stuck my ponytail down the back of my shirt, so it wasn't waving around.
Right. Brilliant.
And when I left, it kind of fluttered around a little bit, and then it didn't bother me because I no longer look like, a rear end of a cat. And that's the problem.
Crazy.
So then every time I would leave, I'd stick my ponytail in. And before I left, he got out of the car, I stuck my ponytail in before I got in the door. And finally, the chicks grew up and flew off, and they were gone. And that was that. And it happened the next year. They came back. And then I started to get the attack. Okay, in goes the ponytail.
That's so funny.
So I used the Silva technique, going to deep level, and being able to communicate with whatever.
Okay, and it's always deep level.
Deep level, yeah.
Okay,
I think it's deep alpha.
Okay,
and when you get there, and when they do the practice, and again, you do so many meditations through there, and every time you start to get deep, they set an anchor. It says, every time you want to think this way, be this way, feel this way, or be at this level, all we have to do, we take our thumb and our first two fingers, and you put them together. And they call that the 3-finger technique. And every time we do a meditation, they reinforce using the 3 fingers. And so when we're busy in the daytime, you don't have time to count yourself down and go to level. If I really need an answer, I just do the 3-finger. And I can feel the brain waves going down because we created that anchor. That's where I want to be.
That's crazy. That's because you're so practiced. You can just do that and then just almost feel like you're falling asleep almost.
And Jose, Jose Silva that created this with his kids. One of his sons got drafted into Vietnam. And, of course, he wanted to protect his son. And when you're shooting a gun or something or walking around with a gun, you can't do the 3 fingers. Because how are you going to hold a gun? So then he had his son take the little finger and press into the palm of his hand. And that's his trigger that he can use to go into alpha.
So technically, you can make your own trigger. Whatever it is, you just need to make a trigger to help you go into alpha. But it also takes tons of practice to know to go into alpha, deep alpha, and create that trigger to help you move there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I, I'll reinforce it every now and then, just to make sure my brain knows I'm old. Every time I want to be at this level, I'll do the 3-finger technique, and I've added on my own. Anytime I want to go into alpha state, I'll take a deep breath. Then I don't have to use anything. It's kind of nice to involve your body somewhat, but you don't have to.
Just as long as you have something, that's right. All that's important. That's
and these people that take the class, I mean, am I doing this right? Am I not? I mean, there's all this doubt, but at the end of the 4th day, now they've changed it just a bit, but we used to be given someone's initials, their age, their gender, and their general location. That's it. And you diagnose their body. And everybody's about 85% correct the very first time that they do it at the end of the class after 4 days. And that shows them, yes, I'm going into alpha. So it's like remote viewing.
Yeah.
But it's creative and it's happy. And the more fun you make with it, the more you enjoy it and get into it and have like this joyous feeling, the deeper you'll go and the more accurate you'll be.
That's okay.
So I did this bird over, I made nest. It's not just talking to a bird out in the wild. Yeah, I was thinking about, fixing supper for it or whatever it took to get that way. And when I did my stroke, I gave the client, made him silly and happy, and he was talking and animated, and it worked.
That's okay. And then, so now tell me the difference, Silva, Gateway, Monroe.
It's been a long time since I took that class in there, but I know they were doing the beat thing. The different sounds, using different sounds to get to different levels. Yeah. What happens if you don't have that? What if you don't have sounds to plug in? What if you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no sounds?
Right.
And with this, I could be anywhere. I could be in isolation. I could be in prison. And it probably would even be better because, you're starting off with absolutely no distraction. But when I was paralyzed in the hospital and in the excruciating pain, it came through and took care of the pain so I could focus. I had the tools with me versus something else.
Okay.
And Silva, the practice, I think, is to give your mind something to do so you, consciousness, soul, or whatever you want to call it, can be liberated and do its own thing.
Okay.
I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. I'll say this is I'm going to guess that some people would say that once you do the binaural sounds with Gateway enough, you may be able to just kind of think of them almost kind of like you putting your 3 fingers together and they may, because I did Monroe's sleep binaural thing to help you get down to that beta, or I forgot where you are when you're sleeping. And I did it for a month, and I had the speakers in my bedroom on each corner of the bedroom. And it took a month because I worked night shift and I was having horrible time, like sleeping 3-4 hours a night when I finally got off of the night shift.
I did night shift too.
Yeah, I did it for 10 years. And when I quit the job, I was just having the worst sleep problems. So, and at that time I started getting a little bit into remote viewing. It was in the 90s and I tried remote viewing. I'd definitely heard of Monroe back in late 80s from a book my dad's ex-girlfriend gave to me. She was an American Indian. I forgot which one, but either way, she said, "Read this." It's like it was Journeys from Monroe, but I'll say that after that month of using the binaural sleep tape, it helped me sleep from then on. So I'm wondering if maybe it's kind of a reinforcement thing where you do it enough, then all you need to do is kind of like your 3-finger thing. Maybe that's it, but I don't know because I haven't completed I'm just speculating. But I do like the Silva method. I like what you're telling me. It seems to make more sense because it's self-meditation. You're learning to bring yourself into a different state, like that alpha state, the deep alpha.
I would have to catch up again on what Monroe does. I mean, it's been so long.
That's okay. Yeah, I just remember you saying that there is also the difference between there was kind of like one is for the light, the other one is for vibration, or something to that effect.
Right, because we were also in Eckankar under Paul Twitchell, and he did not like that. And because it was spiritual liberation. It's not like a cult. It's not like you just give the body something to do and let soul do its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was easy. Yeah, it's hard to copyright that. So.
True. Okay.
So I'd have to, if anybody wanted to discuss it, I would really need to catch up a little bit more on it. But the Silva is just a bunch of tools in your toolbox.
Uh-huh.
And again, like anything else, you gotta practice it at least now and then. A few years ago, when I was still working in the hospital and doing hospice part-time. Somehow the subject came up with one of the physicians, and we were talking about that. So we had an incredible sleep center for doing sleep studies, mostly for sleep apnea and things like that, EEGs. So several of the physicians had me come over. I said, if they're going to hook me up to an EEG and see what happens when I go to level doing the Silva. So they put all the probes all over the head, and then they prop me up in a chair. Generally, I lay down to meditate. I don't know why. And most people don't like it. I do better that way. I don't know. But anyway, they propped me up in the chair and put lights on, and they filmed it. And they were watching all the EEG. And so, go to level. And it was kind of odd at first, with all the stuff on my head and people just staring at me, waiting for a miracle to occur. Loaves and fishes to multiply or something like that. So anyway, it took a bit, but I was focusing and went right down. And I was able to get into theta. So I went even deeper than alpha. Probably it took, I don't know, because time's so weird, you don't really know. Probably it only took a few minutes. And then they hooked up thermometer probes to my hand. And I made one hand 5 degrees colder than the other. And I have never done that before. I didn't know how to do that. Wow. I never practiced it. Whoever thought it, why would you need to do that?
Did they ask you to do that and you did it?
Yeah, and I did it. So what I ended up doing is I just imagined, huge ice cubes, big ice cube on my hand. And I kept saying cold, 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 and telling my left hand, you stay warm, you get cold. And I talked to the ice cube. This is what I want you to do. You're not going to hurt me. I'm going to be okay. My hand's going to be okay. And I just want you to just start knocking some degrees down. But I didn't know, should I look at a thermometer and see the number go down? I had no idea what to do. So I just went for it. And it worked. And they didn't tell me this until later. I mean, it was like a month or so later, what the result was.
That's. Do you have any data from that?
I wonder, I could probably call them up or something. I'm sure the docs are still around.
How long ago was that?
That was probably 7 or 10 years ago.
Oh, it's not too long ago.
Not long ago.
You should call them up and get that information, get that data. That's important data. And hopefully and then ask them what they did with, because they must have been doing a study. And so ask them for the study too. You should call them up and ask them about that.
And I wonder if they were doing a study or they were just curious. It came across just curious. Hey, why we're doing this.
Why did they choose you again?
Because it was docs I worked with. And in between, and things slow down, we sit around and talk about different things. And it just kind of came up.
And did they all know that you had paranormal experiences?
No. They might have known about the spirits. If I see something, I'll talk about it.
I remember you saying in several instances, you'd go to your other nurses and say, hey, I just saw this, look out for that person. Or I remember you said you saw the lady in your hallway at home, and you said, hey, she just passed, she was in my hallway. So they're like, oh, okay, it's just Dave.
That was hospice. And of course, everybody.
That was hospice, you're right, okay.
And the ER, I didn't see as much. But I think it's because it was so busy and bright lights and craziness going on all the time in the ED.
But when you did, you saw big, like the motorcycle accident.
That was wonderful. What an incredible experience that was. Yeah. What a blessing to be able to serve that woman.
Yeah.
She wanted her body found, I think. Or maybe she didn't know she was dead. Maybe she thought,
I'm with you on that. Remember, you said that she was just like angry, and she was like trying to get this guy to wake up. Like she didn't know she was dead. And so I think you're right. I think she didn't know. And you, I remember you said, maybe go ahead and tell me again, because I thought you said that you told her tell me what's wrong.
Yeah. I asked her. And that's one thing when you're meditating and you want to get some answers, ask whatever it is. Oh, and I got to tell you about the house. I guess I don't have to. I could do that later.
Well, I think you've actually told me about the house, but if you want, you can. I remember, I vaguely remember a story, but I think you told me, but you can feel free to tell it again, because I'm sure you haven't. I don't know. Have you told this in an interview? Okay.
So, but anyway, like with this woman, I asked, what can I do to help? What's going on? And then I saw like all these photos just like appear, pictures, images. And then I saw the accident site. It was just like pictures flying by from left to right, and the accident going slow motion, and her being thrown. And there was like this mound of dirt, and she went behind there. And they found her as like almost in two pieces. I mean, she had to die before she hit, I would imagine. And that's when I went to the police and said, are you sure he's the only one? And they, well, yeah, there was nobody else. And there's some people on scene. I said, would you have them look around? I think there's a passenger. And that's when they found her body. She would have just laid there.
She would have just burned up in the hot Phoenix sun, right?
Yes. Yeah, she would. She would have just dehydrated, and that would have been it.
It would have been something that someone found that wasn't pleasant. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
And what a wonderful thing the universe presented to me to get to help her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they presented it to you. You asked the question. You saw. It's amazing. Yeah. And like you said, ask the question. Ask and you shall receive.
And so when I was looking for a new house, and I didn't know where to go, and I kind of wanted, you meditate and you say, I want a new house, show me a new house or something. So finally I would go to the meditation. I would go down to level, and I imagined a house. This is house, the general house. And it sat it in front of me. And I said, you know what? Are you a house that would want me? Are you a house that has been filled with love by people that have lived there for a long time and are already filled with love? I can fill you with love, but are already filled with love. You're cute. You're exactly what I need. You're something I can grow old in. You're at a price that I can afford. Would you come to me? Would you show me where you are? So I asked the house to find me instead of me go find the house. And that was my meditation that I would do. And at the end of the meditation, I started smelling vanilla and cooking bread. And a wonderful kitchen. Oh, it smelled so good. And, that would be the end of the meditations. And again, I know I got to wait a couple days for delayed wisdom to hit. And when I would start to look for a house, I kept smelling vanilla and like bread baking. I thought, what the heck is that? And I'd look in the back seat, what's this? And I don't know. It was just, I just went with it. Okay, show me what you want to show me. So finally, I went to places of the valley I've never been to before. I just was drawn there. And at one place, I went down this little neighborhood road, cute little houses, post-war bungalow. And there was a small church, and they were having a pancake breakfast as a fundraiser for one of their church people. And it just hit me. Why not? I'm hungry. Pancakes sound good. It'd be a good cause. Maybe I'll meet some new people. Why not? I just pulled in. And as I pulled in, there was this overwhelming smelling of vanilla and bread baking. Well, it's pancakes.
There you go.
So when I went in and I met everybody and I'm talking and I'm standing around eating my pancakes, and I walk up to some people and just say hello, aren't these good pancakes? And there was a man and a woman, and they were there. Their grandmother was 92, and she was going to have to go into a nursing home. So they were helping her, going to sell the house and put her in a nursing home. And I said, I'm out here looking for a house. And they said, why don't you come over and look at hers? So we finished the pancakes, and we become very friendly. And I saw the house. It was like, oh my God, I love this house. And I met the grandmother. I loved the grandmother. And we just hit it off. And I visited with her a couple times. They made me an offer. It was lower than the estimate of the house. They hadn't listed it yet. They hadn't contacted a real estate agent. I had a real estate agent who actually tried to steal the house out from underneath me because of the price.
Oh.
She moved into the nursing home, and then I would go visit her at the nursing home and bring her back to the house, and I would cook for her. So she would still get to see her house.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's like our house. And what a wonderful thing. It worked out perfectly. But the answer I got, it came as an odor. And as a feeling of which road to go down, and a feeling to pull in and go eat, strange pancakes at a church I never heard of. It was just, it used that sense. That's the way it communicated with me that time. It was, what's that? Oh, that's odor?
Oh, when it's like telekinesis, or clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairodorance. Who knows?
So it worked out. They sold the house. I bought a house. We became friends. It was just a wonderful situation. And I did it using Silva mind control. Just went to level, asked a question. And I asked the house. I asked the house to find me.
Yeah. And the odor came with it. And again, you ask the questions. It's when you're in meditation, you ask the questions, you get the answer.
Right. It's active meditation. It's not passive. You get involved and you participate. And
okay. Now I understand what you mean by active and not passive.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks, Dave. This was great. We've been talking for over an hour, so I guess
we always do.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to talk to you, man. You've got so many stories. It's so nice to hear you tell your stories. You're so sincere and all those nice things that I could say that in words that I can't think of at the moment.
I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, we should do this once a month or something. Just have a chat, and then you'll have your own videos that you make for your own stories that people can watch too. I don't know, but it saddens my heart when you say it's hard living alone and not having anyone to talk to, and it makes me think, well, I should at least talk to you once a month like this, and you can share your stories.
It's interesting when you outlive everybody. And then when you get a certain age, truly, you do become invisible. To a lot of people. And I have some friends that I go out with. A friend of mine has horses and invites me out. And we sit in the dark and look at the skies, and the horses just kind of wandering around in the background. Absolutely wonderful.
Did you ever get out to go camping again or anything, or did your hospital issue or health issues?
After the last time when I got chased, when I saw the being, and I went out there and I heard all the underground digging, and these bizarre trucks that looked like trucks,
right?
Didn't look like trucks,
right? Well, now just
camping again.
But a few months ago, you said you were thinking of going back up that way.
I haven't done it yet, but I want to go back and shoot some video of this spot where I saw the thing, the thing, and exactly where the underground gigging was.
Okay.
And I wonder if that's a wise idea or not, but I'm thinking maybe I should. I still got to get some new tires. I've been putting that up to go way out there. I'm going to need good tires.
Well, if you do that, maybe I'll send you like you can buy these little Bluetooth mics that hook up to your phone. So then it'll have better sound too. So
show me what to order.
Yeah, sure. They're not too expensive anymore. Everything's so cheap. But and
who knows? Maybe there'll be some trucks out there.
Let's hope not. Don't want to get chased again. But okay, well, you know what? I'll stop recording here. But thank you for this conversation. Like I said, we should do this more often. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.